Alright guys, so today we're going to be checking out the brand new SoundPEATS Air 3 Deluxe. Now SoundPEATS took the Air 3s, which I already felt was a much better value than Apple's Airpods, and made a deluxe version. So they added a couple of improvements. They've kept the price about the same because these do retail at 50 bucks. Although right now there's supposed to be a coupon code and some different things to bring it all the way down to about $38. And I'll put all that in the description below. But we're going to talk about some of the improvements that they've made. We're going to talk about the sound and the features and see if it's worth the $50 or $38 price tag. Now to start with, as far as the technology goes, these, just like the original Air 3s, have Bluetooth 5.2. They're using a Qualcomm 3040 chip, and this pair also has aptX adaptive. Now when I reviewed the originals, I said that it was very impressive that you can get aptX adaptive on an inexpensive pair like this, because aptX adaptive is just one of the best Bluetooth codecs that I've noticed while testing, just because it's always adapting to the connection that you have, the environment you're in, and everything, just to always make sure that you're getting the best sound quality that you can get. Now another thing about this pair is it is an open air design earbud, which is a lot like Apple's AirPods. It's just not made to have silicone ear tips. There's a lot of people that can't use earbuds that have those ear tips. It's just not comfortable. So having an open air pair, you just simply place it in your ear. It's just kind of hanging there. And usually that means you're having to compete with your environment because your ears aren't completely sealed. You can hear a lot of the things around you. And so SoundPEATS, with the Air 3s and the Air 3 Deluxe, they're using a 14.2 millimeter driver. So that is a fairly large driver in a pair of earbuds. But again, they have to kind of compete with the surroundings, so this definitely makes sense. Now this pair also has a gaming mode, so it causes you to be able to cut down latency when it comes to movies, videos, and obviously gaming. And this pair does an excellent job of making sure that you don't have lag while using those. But if you are in the low latency or gaming mode, it is going to cut down your battery life, and it's also going to cut down how far you can actually get from your device. It means your connection's just not going to be as strong. But you know, if you're using this to watch movies or game or watch videos, you're gonna be close to your device anyway. Now another huge plus about the Air 3 Deluxe, same thing like the Air 3s, is it works with SoundPEATS app. Now any earbud that works with an app already gets some bonus points because you can always make sure that your earbuds are updated. And this pair also allows you to see the battery level right there on the home screen. Another thing that this pair has is adaptive EQ. Now this is basically like a hearing test that it wants you to walk through, and it's adapting an EQ based off what it thinks that you like. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that it was pretty far off with mine. I just felt like it did something really weird with the audio. It wasn't something that I liked using, but luckily the app also has some pre-built EQ settings that you can switch between, and you can even customize the EQ settings the way that you want. But I personally like the EQ setting that comes on these out of the box, so I really didn't have to mess with this. But it's nice that it has these options within the app. Now as far as using these outdoors, this pair actually only has an IPX4 rating, where the original Air 3s had an IPX5. So they dropped the IP level down one. And this actually makes sense because what this does is it cuts down the ceiling that it has to do to kind of cover microphones. So it means that the mic quality should be better on this pair compared to the Air 3s. But an IPX4 rating means you'll be fine against rain and sweat and splashes and things like that. But this is definitely not one of those pairs that you would want to submerge into water. Now as far as what all you get inside the box, this is pretty simple. Because it's an open air design earbud, you don't get any silicone ear tips or foam ear tips or anything like that. And the charging cable that you get is a USB-C cable. Now, I was kind of hoping with this pair being called Deluxe that they would have added Qi wireless charging to these, but sadly they didn't, so you are gonna have to use this USB-C cable. And speaking of the charging, battery life is pretty decent, and this is an area where they definitely improved. The earbuds themselves still only get about 5 hours on a single charge, but the case now gets 22 hours instead of the 17 that the original Air 3s had. So getting a nice 5-hour boost is a huge plus. And the reason you're able to get this is because they have a newer case with these. It's not using the same design that they had before. In fact, this case resembles a lot of the other newer SoundPEATS earbuds that we've tested, but this one is glossy, so it definitely picks up fingerprints real easily. But on the bottom, you can see it has the USB-C input for charging, and then around on the front, you have a pairing button, and you also have that single indicator light. That way you can kind of gauge how much battery life is left on the case. But when you pop open the lid and pull the earbuds out, you can see again, this is a stem style design earbud, which is a lot like Apple's AirPods, but it's also one that doesn't have ear tips. And again, a lot of people prefer these because they can't use normal earbuds. Now, as far as the controls go, this pair does use touch controls, and I'm happy to say that it gives you control over everything. So you have your play, your pause, your ability to skip your tracks forward, go backwards, you have volume control, and you can also switch it into that gaming mode, all from the earbuds themselves. Now, for you guys that do like to use your earbuds for phone calls, just like the original Air 3s, this pair is using 4 microphones total. It also has the CVC 8.0 technology. That way, if you're in a noisy environment, it's trying to block a lot of that out. And I think they did a very good job with the mics here. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here.
So here is a mic test using the Air 3 Deluxe, and I think the mics do a really good job here. I think it picks up my voice in an almost natural way. You can definitely hear some digital noise, and it does sound slightly warm, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is the mic test, the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public.
So now let's talk about the sound, because the sound on these are very loud. It is a very dynamic sounding earbud, but it doesn't distort. Now this is with the EQ setting that it has right out of the box. Again, obviously you can go in and change a bunch of different things if you want to, but I personally just like the default EQ. Now the bass on these is not going to have that subwoofer type feel because of the design. The open air design earbuds are never really going to give you that feel because you don't get a complete seal in your ear canal. But I was very impressed with the bass that these had. And again, this kind of lends itself to the larger drivers that they're using. So the bass had plenty of punch to it, but it allowed everything else to come through cleanly because I felt like the mids were pushed fairly forward. No matter what I was listening to, I could hear vocalists clearly. I could be male or female vocalists. It could be metal, it could be pop or hip hop. And I never felt like the vocalists got lost in the mix. And same thing with the treble. You can tell that it is boosted. But any kind of open air design earbud, I noticed that companies always try to boost everything. And I think SoundPEATS did it in a way where it's not jeopardizing one frequency over the other. So treble is nice and clean. It didn't get harsh or bright, but it again just brought out details and made it very easy to hear every little subtle thing. Now, another thing that this type of design lends itself to is the sound stage and the imaging. This is a very open sounding earbud, obviously because it is open. You're able to hear your music with your surroundings. You don't feel as closed in as you do with other earbuds. And with this pair, I had no issue with being able to tell where different sounds were coming from. So really, to wrap this up, my overall opinion is I do wish, because of this being a deluxe version, it would have had Qi wireless charging. The adaptive EQ feature, I think, is just something you can completely forget. And another thing I did forget to mention is within the app, it says that it has an ANC and transparency mode. I could never get this to work. So I don't know if this is actually a feature itself because it's not listed in the instruction manual, but it does show it on the app. So that in itself is also confusing. But other than that, I feel like this is an excellent alternative to Apple's AirPods. In fact, I think this is a much better sounding product over Apple's AirPods. And being able to pick them up for about 40 bucks on sale and $50 at their normal price, I just think makes these a very good value, especially considering all of the competition. But guys, that wraps up my video on the brand new SoundPEATS Air 3 Deluxe. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.